broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows and topics.
Welcome back to another episode of The Hunting Show. I'm your host, Stephen Spargo, and we're on show number 31. Isn't it great that hunters are so passionate? It's really interesting for me to have a look around the internet, surf the forums, even keep an eye on Facebook, and notice that hunters, no matter what their opinion is, whether I think it's right or whether you think it's right or whether I think it's wrong, definitely are very vocal about it. Some people have made the assumption that hunters are vocal because they don't necessarily all understand what the issues are, or that they haven't done their research. Bollocks. In my experience, hunters are, one, very practical, as a collective group, and generalising them a little bit, but two, actually very well read. And the ones that aren't necessarily so well read have really solid life experience. So to anyone out there who listens, who thinks that most hunters come from some weird place where all they see is the bush and don't understand the real world, get a life. And I have seen some of those sorts of comments out there. Yes, hunters sometimes make mistakes, or they're making an observation from their standpoint and they're making a conclusion based on what they see. So they don't necessarily go to an academic paper or find some piece of legislation somewhere to back up what their assumption is. But generally it's based on some sort of rock-solid knowledge. That's the end of that rant about that. But I would like you to have a look around. Look, I commend hunters. I really do. I commend you on the great feedback, the great posts that you put online, and also this great knowledge base that you've created. And what I am enjoying about hosting this show is I'm starting to see more and more hunters actually, and I think it was before I just wasn't looking, but actually sharing information with other hunters. It's not a secret club. We don't have 3 knocks at the door or a secret handshake. Hunters as a collective are actually quite open and willing to share their knowledge. And one of those people that's willing to share knowledge with us is Kim Swan, author of 9 books. She writes for a number of publications, including Hooked on Boars magazine, New Zealand Hunting News, and the Fishing Paper. How are you, Kim?
I'm great, thanks, Stephen. How about yourself?
Oh, kicking along, almost dangerous today. Kim, isn't it interesting? You're someone that I've read a lot about and read lots of your publications, but I don't necessarily know that much about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I think that's a point well made. There's probably not a hell of a lot of people who do know a lot about me, even though they read my story. Probably fat, 50 and female would best describe me. And so it's a good position to take the mickey about myself, which people like. And that's in the New Zealand Hunting News via the Fishing Paper. My stories are very popular because I do take the mickey, and people enjoy that. I'm not too serious about hunting or life.
So tell us, how did you get into hunting?
Courtesy of both my mother and my father. Mum is a very passionate pig hunter, so like it or not, I got dragged along from birth pretty much, and just carried that on. Haven't really had a stop since that time.
And you've hunted most of New Zealand?
Not really. I have hunted a lot of places in New Zealand, but there's an awful lot of places I would really like to hunt. Northland and Fiordland come to mind.
Now, Kim, being a female hunter, you're in the minority, unfortunately. But what we are seeing now is women's hunting groups around the country and women's divisions within local hunting clubs getting stronger and stronger. Has the environment changed from you, or can you tell us how the environment's changed for you?
Absolutely, it's changed from in my youth when guys were quite negative. But very much a different case now, and guys are really supportive of women who are genuine. I find I don't have time for women who are out there trying to think that they're tough or be something that they're not. Genuine women, they're a pretty capable bunch and can achieve all sorts of goals when they apply themselves.
Isn't it interesting you brought up that genuine woman thing? Can you go into that a little bit further? I'm sort of trying to get to grips with that. You see that is there a lot of women out there that are just trying to be the tough guy? What's your take on that?
Not a lot of women, but there are, women and girls who think that being a pig hunter or a hunter of any kind is by getting blood on their hands that they're being tough, when I don't find that hunting is about killing or bloodletting. It's an experience, all different aspects of being outdoors. But there are girls who think that by posting a photo of a pig held over their shoulders that they look tough, but most of the time you can pick the pretenders.
And you talked about this hunting as a blood sport. It's a common misconception. I actually think that hunters and animal welfare people at large have more in common than they realise. Do you...
Agreed, yes.
Yeah.
I think, I think when you look at hunters on a whole, pig hunters especially who have their dogs, they're their mates and they're really well looked after. In most cases, it's guys dedicate an awful lot of their time and their income to ensuring their dogs' welfare. And and I think the same goes for the animals that we hunt. The majority of us have a lot of respect for the game that we hunt and ensuring, that we take it in a fair way.
Taking a quote from Peter Salter's book, and I don't know if you've read it, we're right near the beginning. Peter says, and that's Pete the Bushman from down there in the South Island, he says that after shooting that first deer, you're changed forever. You have this different respect for where food comes from, for that animal, for the creature. Do you think that that's still there?
Yes and no. Putting food on the table is not as important now as it was in the past. It's sort of something I know up north, a lot of the Maori families, that is what hunting is all about for them. But in other parts of New Zealand, hunting's not just about putting meat on the table. It is a big part of the hunting scene, but I think there's an awful lot more to it than that as well.
For me, hunting, the reward is the meat on the table. For me, it's who I'm with and where I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you are. I mean, we're so lucky in New Zealand. We really, really don't know how lucky we are probably until we go offshore and have a bit of a look around. But stunning piece of the world, and there's not many places in New Zealand that aren't awesome to be in.
You talk about that, New Zealand being this great place. Can you name a few places that you would put on the pinnacle of that awesomeness?
A pinnacle of the awesomeness.
Yeah, I know that's very good theatre of the mind, isn't it? But tell me what
a pinnacle of the awesomeness.
Yeah, come on.
I have to say my backyard is pretty damn awesome. The Marlborough Sounds, just spectacular in many different respects, and I have to say, I went up to the Seeker Show a few weeks back, and sort of driving up through the country, I was really proud of where we live, and what we've got here is a very diverse country. Sort of going up through the desert road, lots of places for the people who live in them, especially are the pinnacle of awesomeness. And we're, sort of 5 minutes away from most of our back door is some pretty wonderful country.
And you're kind of lucky in similar respects to I'm in the North Island, and I'm in Taupo, so right where the Seeker Show is held.
Yep,
but yep. I live 20-minute drive from some of the best hunting in the world. And you must be the same, right out your back door, and how lucky we are. Do you think Kiwis appreciate quite how lucky we've got it?
I think most of us do. yes, I am in the same situation, sort of, 5 minutes after putting my dogs in the dog box on the back of the truck, I can be amongst it. There are other people in cities who aren't so lucky, but pretty much we're all within reach of some really good hunting. And yes, we might have to share it, but we're also sharing it with some good buggers. New Zealand hunters, they're predominantly, good buggers. I have to say that.
Yeah, interesting. Just before you came on for this interview, I talk about on the show how amazing it is to for me personally to sit here online and to go into the New Zealand hunting and fishing forums and on Facebook and all sorts of great forums that are out there. And New Zealand hunters, more so I think than some of the hunters from around the world, are willing to share information and for want of a better word, groom those new hunters through so they have a really good experience. It's not a secret club, even though there's some perceptions out there that it is. And people like yourself are so willing to share information. Where do you see the sport going?
I would like to see it stay pretty much as it is. And yes, I do think that us older hunters do have an obligation to ensure that the young people coming through are not just successful, but that they do respect the environment and the animals that live in it. I think with the Game Animal Council and some of the clubs that we've got, and like you say, some of the forums, there's plenty of outlets for people to find information. And as I say, we're lucky that we do have some good buggers. We do have morkors and uncles and mates who are prepared to take a young fella or a young Sheila out and show them some pretty damn interesting stuff. You
make a really good point about that sort of passing on information to the next generation. What do you think that older hunters, or more established hunters I should say, can do to make sure that good information gets passed on to the next generation?
There's an awful lot of information that is good information, and it goes back to that thing that hunting's not just about killing. The whole experience, there's lots of information that it might be river crossings, it might be how to even do something as simple as packing a pack effectively, or taking care of your dogs, or being a responsible citizen, doing something as simple as not dropping litter around the place. It sounds really basic, but that's the sort of stuff that I would like to think that we're passing on to young people, and that they're doing themselves in future.
Yeah, I'd like to think that was happening, but in some ways I don't. I'm a scout leader for that very reason. I think it's an awesome organisation that passes some of those, maybe not hunting skills, but those core basics. Don't leave litter behind, and how do you pack your pack, and how you're responsible for yourself. Do you think some of that's getting lost in the youth?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. To be honest, it is. I think youth is at the moment, a lot of it is about spontaneous gratification. And they're not there for the long haul, which is a shame. But the young people who do stick with it, they get the reward at the end.
Now you're probably one of the more well-known hunters in New Zealand, mainly because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because of the books you've written and the publications that you write for. Is there anything that comes with that? Is there sort of an expectation on when you attend a meeting or a hunting competition that you're going to compete well? Or tell me a little bit about being reasonably high profile.
Probably there is a lot of negativity, a lot of knockers and doubters, as you would expect. That's just the New Zealand way. But yeah, I think it only, for me personally, being the writer that I am and being out there, I know that, I am going to get an amount of flack, but all that negativity for me is annulled, simply when I meet a young fella who, or a young woman, same thing, that I've been a role model for. that's really awesome. If I have a teacher say to me, I've used one of your books to get a young fella interested in reading, he finds the stories, something that he can achieve. As I say, that annuls all the negativity, and there's sort of both sides of the coin, and you expect that.
You make an interesting point, because with the show, I think I talked to you about it off air, we get both negative and positive comments, but I've found probably slightly different. People feel like they know me, so when they disagree with me, it's almost on a personal level, Stephen, what were you thinking? And I think there might be a slight difference between this medium, a way of getting my story across, and yours, where I think this is more personal. And do you find being a writer you're a little bit removed from that personal attack, or is it just the same?
Yes, no, very, very much removed from the personal attack. I know it's out there, but people really go to the bother of putting pen to paper, or contacting me by phone or Facebook or whatever. Like you say, they can attack you directly. Whereas with me, I know it's going on behind my back, but that's just tough titty, pretty much.
Yeah, look, for all those guys that send me emails, I love getting them, outside of one who I emailed pretty harshly back to. The rest of you, I don't mind negative comments as long as you're not threatening myself or my family, and I've only, not many do that, or only one after a certain interview, and that guy was a dork anyway. But I would, look, isn't it, if you were going to write anywhere in the world about hunting, isn't New Zealand one of the hardest places to do that? The audience is small, the uptake is fairly average, I find. Is there uptake internationally of your books, or is it just here? I've had some interest in places like Australia and the odd other sort of person who sends feedback from other places in the world, but yes, you're right. New Zealand is a very small and very particular audience, and writing especially, sort of, you're never going to make your fortune writing hunting stories or hunting books. But it's I don't have experience in sex, drugs, and rock and roll, so I'm lumbered with hunting, bugger. Yeah. Now, you're an established hunter. Have you got some advice for, say, either young hunters just getting into this, established hunters that are seeking more information, or just people wanting to further their skills? Give us a couple of really good, solid bits of advice on both deer hunting and pig hunting. I would highly recommend a hunts course. Whether you are a new hunter or an experienced hunter. I did a hunts course myself not so long ago, and I am an experienced hunter who has been in the bush all her life, and I learnt a hell of a lot, and I cannot recommend highly enough the NZDA hunts courses. It's money and time very, very well spent. Interesting you say that, because it's on my list of things to do as well. I've been interested and even been on the other side of it and taking a hunts course, but I thought I better take one of them first. Isn't it great the work the NZ Deerstalkers Association does? And I think they're a little bit undervalued in the hunting community.
Agreed. Yes, agreed. And I also think that the other thing is that people who hunt quarry other than deer sort of wouldn't give NZDA a second thought. But I mean, just because their title has got deer in it doesn't mean that they don't cater for not just hunters. They cater for outdoors people and people who are into shooting and all different facets of the outdoors. As I say, I can't recommend the hunts course enough, and I sort of think it's something that everybody should consider.
Yeah, at least putting in the time and doing it once in their life. Kim, you've been hunting a long time. I'm sure that comes with lots of stories, and of course it does, because you've published a number of them. Give us 2 of your best hunting stories. Just putting you on the spot right there. 2 of your best.
I don't think that there are 2 of the best stories. I'm sorry to let you down. Every hunt it doesn't have to be a phenomenal story for me. I find positive things, or even stuff that I'm still learning from most of the hunts that I do. Stories. There's all sorts of things happen outdoors, and there's animals fight back, or animals do, all sorts of strange and quirky things. I don't have any particular stories. As I say, for me, every time I go out, I'm looking at things probably in the right frame of mind, and really enjoying my time there. Whether I catch or kill something or not, it's just being out there. And that's probably something else that I'd like to think that people take on board, is that, the best thing about hunting is being out there. And the more time that you spend out there, and the more time that you are observing animals, not necessarily killing them, but observing them, is really sort of a good thing.
I want to touch on the point that you just made, which was that frame of mind. I often find that when I really miss hunting, or I really want to get out there and do it again, is when my stress levels are right up there. And that's when I miss it the most. And I wonder sometimes whether that's the worst time to potentially go out and hunt. Should I be going out there on a Sunday when I'm chilled out and just want to go for a wander and add to my already sort of serene mindset? Or or should I be using it as that stress relief, which is kind of what I do? I'm definitely guilty of that one. What's your opinion on that?
I guess it's a case of each to their own. I'm pretty spoilt that I get to go out hunting more than average Joe, and even within my own sort of frame, there are lots of different reasons to be out there. Sometimes, to be honest, it is a chore, and there's times when a landowner wants animals gone, and whether it's pissing with rain or freezing cold or beating down hot, I might be buggered from doing other work, and I still have to go out there, and he still expects a result. So, as I say, it's all about different things for different people. There is no set reason or rhyme to what we do. But I think, as I say, making the most of the opportunity when we are out there is pretty important.
Kim, if people want to find out more about the books that you've written and yourself, is there anywhere they can go online to either purchase those or learn more about them?
I would think that both the Fishing Paper and Halcyon Press, or Halcyon Publishing as it's known, has really good websites. I myself am fairly private. I don't sort of do anything to promote my work.
Outside of weird radio interviews you get.
As I said to you, I am accessible. I am accessible if people want to get in touch. I have a Facebook page which is really, really quite basic, and I'm always prepared to put time into communicating with people. But as I say, the fishing news, the Fishing Paper, and Halcyon both would appreciate anybody who wants to get in touch and have a look at what they've got there.
Well, Kim, thank you very much for your time. I know that it's precious, and I know that it was kind of, I contacted you out of the blue based on a listener, actually. A listener recommended me you and said you'd be a great interview, so there are definitely people out there that follow you. And let's do this again. Let's, in a few months' time, maybe in a year's time, we'll catch up again and do another interview and see how things are going. And I will put some links up in the comment section of this podcast where people can click onto. And I'll also send you a link, Kim, that you can share on your Facebook page if you like.
Oh, wonderful. That would be great. And thank you for the opportunity. I sort of look forward to seeing where it goes from here.
No worries. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, that was Kim Swan, another great Kiwi hunter. Look, sorry about the dodgy phone line, but look, that's New Zealand. That's living rural in New Zealand. Dodgy phone lines. I hope you can get past it, guys. Be careful out there. Good hunting.
Podcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows